Hello, been a few weeks. If you checked up with my community notes, you know why I haven't been posting. And I'm back making a video for El Clasico of all games. I just want to speak about it a little bit before I get into the video. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for the support on the last post. The issue that was spoken about as to why I couldn't make content still isn't resolved. And so this isn't me saying I'm back to making videos consistently, but I had a moment where I felt like I could make this. It's a big enough game to warrant it. And so I thought I would make the video simply. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for your support. Again, this may not mean I'm back fully. This may not mean I'm back consistently. As obviously anyone who read the post knows, issues outside of content in real life are taking a bit of precedence at the minute, and as a result, just require my full attention. But again, thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for your support. It was very nice. So, again, El Clasico, Barcelona ripped them apart 4-0. Was the game as one-sided as the scoreline suggests? No, but can you argue with it? Not really. And Barcelona had a game plan which they pulled off to perfection. It wasn't without its risk. It wasn't without giving Real Madrid some semblance of opportunity, but I thought Madrid attacking defensively, it was a very, very overall poor game. I know Ancelotti came out and defended the performance, especially first half, which he's entitled to do as manager. I think he'd know that there was just poor individual quality. And I don't think the setup was bad. I don't necessarily think tactically he got it completely wrong. But I don't think he played to his team's best strengths against the quality of opposition that he's playing against a team that are the best attacking side in Europe. Just dispatched to Bayern Munich in the midweek, steamrolling past everyone near enough in La Liga. And as a result, they're now top and they've got a bit of a cushion. But how did Barcelona win the game? How did Real Madrid lose the game? We'll go over the Real Madrid attacking phase first of all. So Real Madrid would attack like this. It would start off initially as sort of a 4-box-4 lopsided 2, which I know is very 2024 in football, but it would be with the back four initially starting off as you would expect, with Mendy and Vasquez taking up normal fullback positions, Valverde and Tchouaméni coming deep. You'd have Camavinga and Bellingham in sort of wide 10 positions, with Vinicius Jr. playing as a left winger while Mbappe played as the striker. Barca would go to press high, and it would be with Yamal and Rafinha coming into the wide areas to mark the centre-backs, Lewandowski and Fermin Lopez dropping into Tchouaméni and Valverde. Pedri and Casado would manage Camavinga and Bellingham in the wide tens. You'd get Kabasi and Martinez keeping an eye on Mbappe. Koundé on the right back position and Balde on the left back position, and the full back areas is typically where you get the joy against Barcelona. As you can see here, the shape resembles a 4-2-4, so that means there is the opportunity for a chip pass into this area, and that was where Real Madrid could play out, and Real Madrid would very quickly adjust their shape as their build-up progressed. And that would be with a couple of moves contributing to the variation. One would be Lucas Vasquez pushing very high up into the right-hand side. So where you could look to play out against Barcelona into the fullback areas, they didn't have that option on the right-hand side as Vasquez would push up very high very quickly. So that means Balde would be pushed back in this side of the pitch. You'd get Bellingham pushing up a little bit higher into the right half space, which gave Balde a little bit more to deal with. Casado then not following that run all the way in, having the freedom to operate more as an orthodox midfielder. And so as a result, this gave Valverde the opportunity to play sort of more in like an orthodox right back, Tchouaméni then having the role as the single pivot. This gave Camavinga an opportunity to drop more in. And so it turned what was a box midfield into a bit of a rhombus, if you'd say. So Camavinga could sort of come in alongside Tchouaméni, and it created a bit of a 3 at the base of the midfield. Pedri could get drawn up a little bit higher, or maybe he could stay a little bit deeper, allowing Lewandowski to come into this area. Fermin Lopez would move on to Camavinga, and it created Valverde as the free man. As I say, the fullback area was always the most exposed for Barca, but Lewandowski would follow Valverde if he became a threat, which was needed because if Pedri was to come to Camavinga, he has that sort of burst to keep up with Camavinga's exceptional athleticism. He can just burst away on or off the ball in these areas. So let's say if this ball does go over to Mendy here, then you have Pedri that can cover this space here. And as I say, this is where Barcelona would be exposed in these areas. There was a couple problems with it from a Real Madrid perspective. One, Ferland Mendy had real poor quality on the ball, so if he was to take a touch, you'd get Koundé that would jump to press him real quickly, you'd get Pedri that would come across, you'd get Yamal that would back up onto him. So Barcelona dealt with these situations very well. Again, Madrid would look to outnumber him, so sometimes you get Camavinga coming into this area here, where Pedri would get dragged across, causing a bit of a 2-on-1 situation, where Real Madrid could easily play out and get Camavinga on the ball, which would create a ripple effect as he moved up. Fermin coming across, then create space for Tchouaméni, Lewandowski, Yamal maybe dropping in. There were ways that Real Madrid could exploit that Barca shape with players just jumping to press when a player became available. Or with Vinny Jr. playing that sort of left-hand side, left winger position, he could drop in a little bit as well to help overload these areas and play some quick exchanges of pass and could potentially release Mbappe in behind. You'd get Koundé occasionally coming into this area as well to try and press Mendy on the ball. He would typically only go to press Mendy if Camavinga had dropped in a little bit deeper and Pedri followed him, because this then gave Kabasi the invitation to move over to Vinny Jr. and Casado could fill in his position at centre-back because of the way that Bellingham and Vasquez had lined up. He didn't really have a marker in that position, so with players dropping deep and moving further forward, that meant he could just fill this gap, allowing Koundé to go and press. And to be fair, Koundé timed these moments very well when he was aggressive in going to press. But naturally, that transitional threat for Real Madrid, the direct option when you have Mbappe, when you have Vinicius, when you have Bellingham, making those movements in behind is still always on. How did Barcelona counteract that? Through a very, very well implemented offside trap. You have to give a massive amount of credit for him. It was well orchestrated. It was frustrating from a Real Madrid perspective. It was inch perfect, and they have to be. And look, I'm not the biggest fan of an offside trap because it can so easily go wrong, but you have to admire it when it's pulled off so well. So many times, Vinicius and Mbappe were getting caught offside in positions they didn't really need to. They're quick enough to give an opponent a yard or two, whether it was frustration or just a bit of maybe just frustration of going behind and missing chances as well as scoring chances that were offside. And Bellingham coming into the right half space meant he was a direct option as well. And so, if the ball went to Vinny Jr., then you would see the runs of Mbappe and Bellingham in these positions. In the second half, especially, Kabasi won his individual battles against Vinicius Jr. I thought he defended excellently. He's a player that gets better every time I watch him, really developing into a star and one La Masia can be proud of. So yeah, that was an area where Real Madrid could exploit with Vinny Jr. getting in this side, playing the balls in for Mbappe or Bellingham. Chances they did get were either missed or offside. And it wasn't just that area of the pitch that they could look to hit direct. If they felt like they couldn't play down the left-hand side, maybe Vinny coming inside, drawing a marker up, drawing the defence across, then that would create space on the right-hand side, as Bellingham would look to make the runs in between Martinez and Bolde, which would drag Bolde inwards. Vasquez had a little bit more room to attack that right flank as a right winger, so if they could get maybe back to Lunin or Rudiger, who could fire that ball across and get him in behind, again, caught offside, well-implemented offside trap, and the quality came to nothing when it did get opened up. So it was risk and reward for Barcelona, but the reward definitely paid off. But how did Barcelona win the game from an attacking perspective? Well, we'll get to that now. Barca's shape was in a 2-4-4 or a 2-4-1-3, with Firmin dropping off of Lewandowski a little bit in between the lines. Yamal and Rafinha coming in very narrow as sort of inside forwards. Koundé and Bolde pushing a little bit further up, allowing Pedri and Casado to sit in between. And Real Madrid would go to press. It would be in sort of a mid-block as opposed to a high press. Vinny Jr. and Mbappe on the two centre-backs. And to put it bluntly, they both did terrible, terrible jobs. Mbappe was stationary, didn't get close to Martinez at all. Vinny Jr. would occasionally look to jump to press Kabasi, but without really keeping anyone within his cover shadow. And again, just a lack of intensity and just so reactionary. It wasn't. It was just messy. Like it really was messy from these two, and it was easy for Kabasi and Martinez to play out constantly from these areas and exploit the middle of the pitch, which Barca would always look to exploit. And the way they did that is Real Madrid's midfield four were caught in between, I feel like, narrow and wide pressing, and that probably doesn't make any sense. So Casado and Pedri would look to drop it, and they'd look to maintain a little bit of narrowness in this area, which would allow Valverde and Tchouaméni to come up to press them, which would create a lot of space in between the midfield four and defensive four for Real Madrid that Fermin Lopez could drop in, and Yamal and Rafinha. And the issues that this created was with the fullbacks. So Bolde and Koundé would look to push on into this area and be the main source of width, which would do one of two things. It would either create the opportunity for Pena or the two centre-backs when the press wasn't good enough to fire this ball in here, to allow them to run on and exploit the fact that Real Madrid, their shape was very narrow. Or if Camavinga and Bellingham got drawn to the fullbacks, this then created options for the passes into Rafinha or into Yamal, who would look to drop into these areas and get on the ball, turn and create from these areas. As with the overlapping fullbacks, this then created the issue for the Real Madrid fullback. So let's use Mendy as an example. Could he come out to press Koundé, or would he follow in Yamal? He couldn't make a right decision. He was leaving a man exposed in this area. As once that midfield full press was beaten, Camavinga and Bellingham weren't fantastic at recovery, and Tchouaméni and Valverde got pushed higher onto Casado and Pedri, where they almost couldn't recover quickly enough. And as I say, Yamal did a fantastic job coming in deeper to get on the ball here. That midfield four was played apart a bit too easily for Real Madrid. Barcelona had them where they wanted them. It came down to the lack of press from the front too, but Barca had ways to hurt them. Whatever decision they made, if they went wide, they could hurt them in the centre. If they stayed narrow, they could hurt them wide. Obviously, with Koundé, you don't get as much attacking quality on the ball in these areas, but with Balde, you get a very powerful runner and a player that is starting to hone his end product a little bit more. And the quality that Balde has on this side with Rafinha is he has a fantastic runner off of the ball that's great at making space for others and can give him a pass to hit or create space that he can either run into or find a pass in the middle to the likes of Fermin Lopez, to the likes of Lewandowski. And in the second half especially, it felt like Real Madrid were getting a lot more frustrated in these areas. It felt like Real Madrid were getting a lot more frustrated in these areas as you'd get more direct options as the press for Real Madrid got worse and worse and worse. If these passes got fired in, you'd get Fermin Lopez looking to receive the ball in this position. You get Lewandowski dropping in as well. Or you'd even maybe get Lewandowski playing as the sort of left wing position, pinning Lucas Vasquez back to allow Rafinha to come into this position again. Again, maybe Yamal would be doing something in the opposite side, trying to sort of pin the fullbacks back or bring the centre back further on. And this would cause Rudiger and Militao to end up breaking lines to press and creating space that Yamal, Lewandowski, or Rafinha could make these out-to-win runs in between the centre-back and full-back into the space in behind. And unlike Real Madrid, their runs were timed perfectly. And the quick one-touch press-resistant play of Barca in these areas was excellent. So let's say if the ball comes up from Martinez, pass to Rafinha, Fermin Lopez, Lewandowski's already made that run in, and the pass has gotten to him before Real Madrid can even get too tight to win the ball. And it was those direct options that hurt Real Madrid time and time again, and as well, the quality and the decision-making of the Barcelona players in these areas was key. So even if they didn't feel like they could find Lewandowski in that space and behind, you'd get the overlapping run of the fullback that they could look to find. Balde was instrumental, especially in the second half, of creating the width on that left-hand side. Fantastic ball for Lewandowski's header. Fantastic cross, fantastic goal. You know, it caused Thogden to play steward for a few minutes there. I'm going to say that back four got exploited too easily from the midfield fours. I'm not going to say the midfield four were poor in their defensive shape. I thought they were let down by the front two pretty aggressively. And at points, they were just left 4-on-5 in these areas. If you got Rafinha dropping in and Pedri and Casado on the ball, they got caught in between pressing and dropping in a little bit deeper. And I will say Lewandowski's back-to-goal play this season has been fantastic. He's been tremendous. And considering there was a growing frustration from Barcelona fans towards him at some points, I think the role he's playing within this team in terms of being selfless with his movements, his back-to-goal play has been exceptional, his quality of pass to find runners in behind, as well as getting in the box to get in a great amount of goals himself. I think he's been excellent. I think he's been the best striker in Europe. I know people say Haaland, but I think in terms of a total package striker and the way he's adapted his game at an old age to suit this team has been nothing short of excellent from Lewandowski. I can't speak highly enough about him. And let's say that direct option, hitting Real Madrid high, wide, and in behind, they couldn't live with it, Madrid. And Barcelona, I've called them the best attacking team in Europe, and I feel like a game like this just solidifies my point. Poor tactical setup from Real Madrid, off the ball management, poor attacking moments with their quality and their temperament. It's not looking amazing for Mbappe at this point. And look, I just feel like the issue is, I know he didn't play, but Rodrigo as well would perform that front three. It feels like they need a different type of player alongside him. All Vinicius and Mbappe, maybe not Vinicius, because Vinicius is unreal, but Vinicius, Mbappe, and Rodrigo, just feel like they need something else to play off of. I feel like it's either direct or it's hard for them to hurt and break down teams. If there's not a transitional threat, there's a lack of quality without Cruz, with Modric not in the team as much anymore, to break teams down. And so as a result, it's just not flowing. There's no real link up. There's no real chemistry, it feels like, at this point between them. And it's something they're going to have to work out. And look, they've got the best manager in the world at doing that in Carlo Ancelotti. So there's no reason it can't happen at some point this season. But it's just not looking great in the meantime. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Again, thank you for your patience. And as I say, this doesn't mean I'll be back making videos full time, but hopefully I can gain a little bit of consistency and get back in the flow of things, because I have missed doing this. I just haven't felt in the right headspace to do it. And this does require a little bit of participation, and I don't feel comfortable just turning up and phoning it in, basically. This is a passion project for me, and I'm not putting my passion into it. What's the point? But again, we'll hopefully get back into somewhat of a rhythm with it. I want to get the Arsenal-Liverpool game done, and I want to get the Inter Milan-Juventus game done definitely this week. It's not a Champions League week, so there's less pressure to do as many games, but those are two games I definitely want to get done. But I thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it, comment down below and tell me why either way, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. In a bit, lads.